Welcome back to The Full View. Now, while the EFF and others prepare to lead a so-called national shutdown tomorrow, let's not forget that public servants have recently been demonstrating. Government gained an interdict to stop essential workers from taking part. Now it's saying that most unions have signed the revised 7% wage offer. Well, Dr. Lumkile Mondi says the outcome may be determined not only by what South Africa can afford, but also by the elections next year. He joins us at Wits School of Economics political economist. Dr. Mondi, thank you as always. So Treasury had budgeted, you say, for a 1.6% increase in wages overall. The offer is now 7% for more than 1 million public servants. Is the gap, the difference between fiscal management and, you say, wooing voters, in fact?
Well, we have been very worried about the escalating public debt by the South African government, which has worsened our fiscal position. With all the support that government had provided during the COVID-19, but also the continuous support of 350 through the TES scheme. At the period of really dismal economic growth, that South Africa needs to work very, very, very hard in terms of ensuring that we grow the cake, and then we can be able to focus on other areas of redistribution. So the minister had announced this increase of about 1.6% because he's worried about the sustainability of the fiscal balances in the face of low economic growth. And unfortunately, I think here we've missed an opportunity again of sending a message to South Africa that times are hard, and times being hard, we need to lessen the burden of rising economic debt, whose service costs are rising, and therefore high government in terms of capital expenditure, because all the money is going to consumption. So in this case, I'm asking, where is the money going to come from that the minister had not budgeted? So something could be sacrificed for public consumption through the wages that's been signed by some unions of 7%.
So in sum, you're saying 7% is too high. In fact, government is making a bad economic decision because this puts us in danger.
I'm saying that when we've budgeted, as announced by the Minister of Finance, all cabinet ministers should understand that message that we're in dire straits, including the president. So when some of his colleagues, that is the colleagues of the Minister of Finance, go out of their way to give 7%, then we ask the question, is it in the interest of South Africa to be offering this increase, or is just another gimmick to try and woo some of the voters who are sympathetic to the ANC because of his political poor performance at recent polls, and therefore likelihood that it may suffer at the polls in 2024, given the falling and failing infrastructure and low economic growth that many South Africans are experiencing, particularly at the level of unemployment, poverty and inequality.
Yeah. Okay, so the maths doesn't work. Like you said, something will have to be sacrificed. When will we know what that is? Does Treasury now give us an indication of how it will do this?
So the Minister of Public Services should tell South Africans where suddenly he has received that additional money. And if the Minister of Finance, then it puts to question all the credibility of the finance minister, and in fact continue to reinforce the view that even the grey listing issue, where government has tried to pass various legislation to bring order to the various challenges that in South Africa will face, whether it's money laundering or financing of terrorist activities, that if government cannot even maintain its position around finances, will it be able to deal with these bigger issues in relation to the grey listing going forward? So really the whole credibility of our government, the whole credibility of our commitment to many of the agreements they've done is going to be questioned. So I'm looking forward to the Minister of Public Services telling South Africans where he got the additional money or which programs will be sacrificed going forward.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at it now from the workers' perspective, the cost of living is going up. It's tough times. So obviously they would push for the higher offering. Has a comparison been done? Because it's often said, look, the wage bill is high, but how much do public servants earn, say, in relation to people in the private sector?
Well, firstly, there's a difference between public sector and private sector workers. Remember that private sector workers are paid on the performance of the companies, of the performance of the companies. In the case of public sector, we all know that we are having very poor service delivery, that our experiences in interacting with government and these employees are very, very challenging, whether it's reporting a crime at the police station or it's applying for an ID or for a passport. So many of us have got experiences. Therefore, from a service perspective and a performance perspective, we don't think that for the taxes that South Africans are paying, we're getting fair value. So that's the distinguishing factor between the private and the public sector.
Yes.
In the private sector, when you go and get a service or you're buying a good, you will get the value of it and you're very willing to pay for it. In our case, we're not getting the value for it. So one wonders, how long can South Africans tolerate paying such high taxes when the infrastructure is failing, when the treatment you queue in the queue for a passport, and then there is load shedding, and then the whole office is offline. You have to come tomorrow, and similar experience in the following day, etc. So this is the reality of South Africa, and we thought that government and public sector workers are working together to try not only to bring a positive image, but to improve the performance so that South Africans can believe in this government. But it seems to me that we're a long way. One appreciates the difficulties that public sector workers are facing, as many South Africans are in the experiences of rising costs. But we should think and bear that in mind, that public sector workers are not alone. We are all this experience of rising costs. And therefore, when we say we're going to live within our means, let us all do likewise. Not those who think that the taxpayers who've got money in their pockets that will be able to pay for services that they don't get, or for services that are offered very poorly.
All right, Doctor, we really appreciate your time as always. That was from Wits School of Economics, political economist, Dr. Lumkile Mondi.